time to self-reflect. Sure you can handle that? Okay. You just make sure you come back, and if it gets dark, you call me. You listening?
So Abbott seems worried about Robbie going on the sabbatical, remarking that it's a lot of time to self-reflect and making sure he hears him when he says, you just make sure you come back. And if it gets dark, you call me. You listening? What is he seeing in Robbie in that conversation?
Well, there's so many things about 9 that, we talked about. And one thing we identified, Noah really kind of, it's his arc. So he understands where Robbie is throughout the day. And this moment in 9 was really the beginning of his goodbyes, because I think 9 is it 3 p.m. or 4 p.m.? What time is it? I'm not sure exactly, but it's when he starts to understand that it's time, this might be the last time it's 3 p.m. Right. So, and that's towards the end of the shift. So it's close to 4. So yeah, he starts to say his goodbyes for the day there. And that pushes him into that scene with Whitaker, where then he makes this huge, gift to Whitaker, and that sort of, I think it levels up their relationship. I really do love that scene, and I love the way that we see in Robbie, he's been talking about leaving, but it's the first time he kind of reveals that he might not be coming back. And it's almost, I don't want to say unhinged, but he's got this, his energy is a little off there. So it's the beginning of what we're going to see, unfold as we get to the end of season 2.
So is Abbott already seeing, even though Robbie hasn't voiced it to him, this maybe he won't be coming back thing?
I think this is no, I don't think Abbott is seeing any of that. And I don't think Abbott knows everything that he will later learn. But it is the beginning of what's going on here. And even in the way that, I think it's mostly the way that Robbie, he can see in him a little bit of an emotional thing happening that I think it gets Abbott's attention. But I don't think it's at the point where he feels he has to act on it at that point.
But it does feel like Abbott's in the best position to notice that something's not quite right, because of what we saw from them in season 1, because of the therapy comment at the end of the season 1 finale, because of we're already seeing Robbie's not wearing his helmet while riding his motorcycle into work. We're seeing him during the shift, and it does feel like if anyone's going to notice that something's off, it is going to be Abbott.
Truly, yes. And I think this is the beginning of that, and I think we have a lot of room to discover there going on to the end of season 2.
So what was your approach to that Robbie and Abbott scene, both as a director and as the actor in the scene?
Well, so much of directing with Noah when he's involved is really just following his instincts, because nobody understands the show, nobody understands the character and the scenes more than Noah. So I relied heavily on what he brought to it. We did talk about that being the beginning of his goodbye parade. So there was a little bit of a discussion about how to sort of highlight that, and I think obviously his emotion was heightened there, but also the reaction that Abbott gives as he's walking away. This show is it's such a pleasure to work on, and what John Wells and JoJo, our DP, they've really created this visual language. So as a director, you're coming in, it's it's something that shoots in sequence. There's one location. It is a follow the action type of camera. So as a director, you're able to lean in explore these performances in a way that is I don't often get as a director on other shows, because you're having to figure out so many other things. But the style is such that, there's not a whole lot of decisions to be made on like where we're going to put the camera, or what's the location, where should we put this, because it's all already laid out.
You brought up the Robbie and Whitaker scene, but just can you talk a bit more about that one, because it's such an important one, because it's saying so much about both those characters, because there's Whitaker getting his doctor badge and kind of trying to downplay it, but Robbie saying like he's proud of him. There's Robbie making sure he understands the boundaries he needs to have with Amy. Then there's a closing line about if he doesn't come back. So it's really about getting the performances out of both of them, and it starts off as a Whitaker scene and then it builds into a Robbie scene by the end, right?
It's a very good point. I mean, there's not there's not a lot of direction to give Noah Wyle when it comes to Robbie. This was a scene where, the writing is so wonderful, and there are a lot of different colors to the scene, a lot of different shapes to it, and we come into it with one perspective. Robbie, what does he want? Well, he wants innately to be the teacher that he is, and I love the way that he helps Whitaker come to the understanding of how he has overstepped a boundary without telling him. He sort of just presents it, and then Whitaker figures it out. But as we said before, coming off of that, it really does come right off the Abbott scene. So it's the beginning of us, the audience, seeing cracks in Robbie, and his energy kind of is he's a little off his game as he talks about needing Whitaker to come and take over his bachelor pad. And so yeah, it was the one scene where there were some check marks that I had as a director, I would love to see this from Robbie, because I wasn't, and you're never sure, and there's no right or wrong ever, in my opinion, with performance, right? So it's just about sort of discovery, and that line in particular for me, and if I don't come back, you'll have a sweet bachelor pad. We talked a lot about it. Is this a joke? Is this a moment of saying something that you shouldn't have said? It was a real chance to sort of, with Noah, kind of give ourselves options. And I really enjoyed that day.
So Abbott does nude yoga at sunrise?
I don't know. I guess, yeah.
I love that line. It was so funny, because it's you never know. You honestly just don't know what's happening.
I don't either. I really don't know. I find it hard to believe. Because
he's probably too busy, finding a way to get back into work if it's a day off.
Yeah, he just doesn't strike me as a yoga guy. I don't know.
It'd be funny if he only does that if he's watching over Robbie's house.
Yeah, right. He saves the nude yoga for Robbie's house in his backyard and his poor elderly neighbors.
I kind of love Mohan and McKay's personal conversations during the shift, in the premiere and now here. And Mohan talked about how she'd been waiting until she got back to Jersey to work on finding a relationship. Now that's out the window. If she hadn't been waiting, does she know what she'd have wanted in a relationship at this point?
I mean, I just find the word work so funny. I'm going to work on finding a relationship. What do you mean by that? I still remember reading that line, and I was like, this girl needs serious help. I don't think she's in therapy, but it's not a job, I don't. And I think she maybe has a checklist, and she's okay, I need to be in a relationship by this month. So I have kids by this year. And that's something that even comes up in the conversation. And I think that she kind of sees it as a list thing, and a thing she needs to check off and figure out. And she always thought that would happen back in Jersey so she could be with her mom. And so, yeah, I think that I think that she maybe even hasn't really thought about what she would want. I think it's just more like a list of items that kind of goes this is what I would want in my partner, but I don't think she even knows how she would feel about any of those things.
Another scene that was really good was the Dana and Emma scene in the ambulance bay. And we really like, because we're starting to see, like, we're learning a little bit more about Emma without anything being explicitly said in the scene because of how she dealt with the sexual assault survivor. What was your approach to that scene? Beautiful.
Again, I mean, there are times when, it's always a question in the show. It boils down to what happened the moment before, what's at stake right now, and what do you want from the character? She asks her a question about how she got the sexual assault victim to come back in and actually go through the kit. And I didn't ask. I just said, perhaps something happened to you, or maybe something happened to your friend who didn't, go through the right channels, and there are regrets. So if there were any way to kind of, think about that when she asked you that question. And I think she nailed it, and it was an incredible performance.
There's that great conversation in the ambulance bay between Dana and Emma said she told Alana there might be a day in the future she changes her mind about pressing charges. How did she know the right thing to say? Because my first thought was, is there something in her history that we're going to learn about?
Yeah. So I worked a lot with Shawn on that scene. He was such an amazing director. He was like a coach. He would be like real close and he'd be like, okay, what's going on? What's going on? I loved it. I was so happy with what we came up with at the end of that scene. And maybe it's from my personal experiences, but slowly it felt like there was something that happened in Emma's life that she didn't want to disclose to Dana at that time, that she didn't even want to expose to like Alana. Until she was in the halls, didn't know where the snacks were. And she just like ended up being like, okay, like, we don't have to talk about it, but like, I'm also here to talk about it. And then she revealed like a bit of her own past experience. Yeah, I think again, that's a moment where you start to see that Emma, this sweet girl, is maybe covering up a lot of, she's experienced a lot of stuff in her life that is maybe not all beautiful rainbows, and she chooses to see the beautiful rainbows.
When Abbott returns to the hospital in this episode, he has that comment about Presby being nice, might have to pick up day shifts over there. Anyone else, I wouldn't take it seriously. But Abbott, is he ever going to be ready to not make work his life?
That was actually an ad lib. Well, it wasn't an ad lib. I just said I scripted some shifts over there, but I put day shifts in because that seems unlikely for him, because he doesn't work day shifts on the clock. I don't know if I answered your question or not, but it's there's also like this the system in and of itself and how screwed up it is, particularly on this day, having, the administrators deal with us the way that they do. I don't know. I do enjoy Abbott and his, and I also think a lot about what that ambulance ride with Howard must have been like with their iPad and that whole, their communication. And Howard really does enjoy Abbott and thinks he's funny. So, gosh, maybe we could do a spin-off of that just for like one episode, like what happens out there.
So when you got this script that you were directing this episode, which scene were you most looking forward to directing when you read it? And then did it end up being the one you most enjoyed directing?
Well, I can tell you the ones that scared me the most were, the Howard scene outside when he's talking to his sister, just because I was in it, and then like you're dealing with like the actor has the thing on his nose and he's talking to his sister who's on a FaceTime and he's using an iPad. So that one scared me the most, but I was pretty happy with how it turned out. Plus we were limited. We don't shoot outside a lot. So that was one, and it happened to be raining that day. So there were a lot of, things that got in the way. But I do think the performances were quite strong between Howard and his sister on the phone, which we were able to do. We just built the set right there so they could do it. she was actually on FaceTime as we were doing it, which was cool. Trying to think, and I was definitely a little nervous about the young Jude character and the trauma scene with his fingers. But I was really, really happy with how it came together, and I thought the actor, the young boy, delivered quite a performance.
How is Emma feeling about how her first shift is going so far at that point? Because it feels like that ambulance-based scene is also like a time to like, she can take a breath for a moment. There's like a moment to relax almost.
Emma's the type of person who can't relax if she sees other people are stressed. She's not gonna sit down and like, I don't think Emma actually ate lunch during this shift. She is someone who is like constantly like seeing if Donnie needs help, if Perla needs help. Like, she is everywhere. And when she runs out to the ambulance bay to find Dana, she's there, and then you see I'm trying to leave right away to go back and help with the mess that's happening inside. Even though I might not be the most qualified person, I being Emma, I'm like back into like actor mode. Yeah, even though Emma might not be the most qualified person, she definitely is the person who wants to be the most helpful and wants to be there.
Has anything that she's seen so far changed anything in her about wanting to be a nurse or the kind of nurse she wants to be?
I think this is where Dana really comes in. I think that she always wanted to be a nurse because she loves helping people. She loves helping her brothers. And I think she does have like, even though she's young, she has like a maternal energy. Like, she loves like babysitting and stuff like that. But Dana makes her realize that this job is really about, there's more spirit and energy that has to go in. There's more of self that has to go in. Like in 209, where she has to reveal information about herself to help her patient. It's not just like, let me give you medicine and you'll be healed. You actually have to give a part of yourself. And I think that sacrifice actually invigorates her and makes her more impassioned to be a nurse, realize what the beauty of nursing is.
How much are we going to learn about Emma? Because there's only so much you would open up to like your coworkers on your first day about.
Yeah, I think that while you keep watching, there'll be more things that happen to Emma, and those are not first day things that happen in your office job. So I think, unfortunately, with those events, you learn quite a bit, but Emma, I think she does a really good job at being like all cute and smile and hiding some of the bad things that have happened in her life. So I don't think you'll see the full story, but you do see quite a bit.
Because this episode does end with that water slide collapse on the news, triggering this mass casualty incident is going to be coming in like we saw in season 1. Now we have season 2's. How ready is Emma for something like that?
I think her heart is ready, but maybe her mind needs a bit of a break. I think she's had a long day already, but she's not going to slow down. She's in for the fight.
What can you preview about how she's going to handle that? Are we really going to see that fight emerge from her?
Yeah, definitely. You're going to see. Now I'm thinking back to those episodes. I think that in those episodes, Emma becomes more creative. She uses some skills from home that the other doctors and nurses might not have.